Good afternoon. Welcome to Dialogue with Deidre. I'm your host, Deidre Malone, and I have an announcement to make on my show. You will be the first to hear this. After prayerful consideration and having a discussion with my family, I have made the decision to run for Congress out of the 9th Congressional District, and you're hearing it first here on Dialogue with Deidre. I feel that with the experience that I've obtained in terms of serving this community as an elected official, and then in the community, that I have what it takes to take on the current congressman of the 9th Congressional District. And I'm excited to announce today that I will be doing that in 2016. Just so you know, it is April Fool's Day, and I have just gave a really big joke for you, my viewers, today. I will not be taking on Congressman Cohen. That was just my April Fool's Day joke for you. We do have a good show, though, for you today. I'm so excited to have in the studio the new chair of the Shelby County Democratic Party, a good friend of mine, Randa Spears. So we're going to have a conversation with Randa about the future of the Shelby County Democratic Party, her vision, how excited she is to be serving as the chair, and what her expectations are for the next 2 years serving as the chair of the party. And then we're going to also talk about what happened yesterday in Nashville. The state Senate committee that was responsible for reviewing again Insure Tennessee voted that down. How disappointing are we? As well as we're going to spend some time talking about some decisions going on and decisions being made in City Hall. Jack Sammons, it looks like, if he can get confirmation from the City Council, will be the new CAO of the City of Memphis. We'll be talking about that here on Dialogue with Deidre. We'll be back in a moment.
Search the M1 Network. Follow us on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Facebook.
I'm Dominique Dawes. How do you start your day? I always start with a healthy breakfast. Whether you're practicing for a game or studying for a test, eating breakfast every day can improve your concentration and help you perform your best. Kids who eat a healthy breakfast have more energy to work hard and play hard. That's why you should check out your school's breakfast program. It's for everyone, so make sure you energize your day. Eat school breakfast.
So they say it's a man's world? I don't see anybody's name on it.
While they were doing their thing, we slowly changed ours.
Today, women can do anything men can do. And there's one thing we're even better at.
Wow, Teller Brown is your drugstore, and your drugstore. Hey, we everyone's drugstore. And we're located at 3333 East Shelby Drive, 794-3690. All medical plans. We support supported living, assisted living. We do it all. And guess what? We even have a $4 plan. Hey, call and ask Dr. Brown about that. I gotta go because she's coming with those boots.
The Carter Malone Group is a full-service public relations agency. Celebrating 10 years of being in business, the Carter Malone Group is located in Midtown Memphis and represents clients across the country. No matter what size your business, if you are interested in promoting your product or service and increasing your market share, contact the firm that can help you meet your goals. The Carter Malone Group. Call 901-278-0881 today.
Welcome back to Dialogue with Deidre. I'm your host, Deidre Malone. This edition of Dialogue with Deidre is brought to you by the Law Office of Michelle Alexander Best. You can reach Attorney Best at 901-734-8621 or email her at gbb52@comcast.net. I've known attorney Michelle Alexander Best for at least 15 years. She's a great attorney and a great friend, and we appreciate her sponsorship of the Dialogue with Deidre show. If you have questions for my guest, the chair of the Shelby County Democratic Party, Randa Spears, please go to the Dialogue with Deidre Facebook page and post a question, and we will ask Randa the question that you have for her. Madam Chair Randa Spears, welcome back to Dialogue with Deidre.
Thank you very much.
Look, so glad to have you in the house. Was it a hard-fought convention, Randa?
Yes, it was. It actually was. We had several people vying for chair. There's a lot of interest in working for the party and helping the party, so that was the good part of it. But it was a hard-fought campaign.
Well, let me just say, I know, and you guys have seen Randa on the show before because Randa actually managed my campaign for Shelby County Mayor. But not only that, she's managed a number and worked in a number of campaigns over the years. Just a real kind of grassroots Democrat. And so it's so good to have someone of your caliber, Randa, leading the party for the next 2 years. What are your expectations? I know we've had a few challenges the last year or so, and it looks like we're about to turn that around. Mm-hmm. What are your expectations for the next 2 years?
Well, I definitely expect that we will get on sound financial footing. We've already started making progress towards that, and I think that will help strengthen our party as we move forward. There is a lot of interest and a lot of new ideas. We've brought some young people on to the committee, so I'm really looking forward to working on some of the new initiatives. And I'm also looking forward to a lot of district-wide organization and improving our organization and our communication with our fellow Democrats. And I think that will help strengthen our party as well.
What do you think about, I thought we had a really good turnout in terms of our convention. How do you plan on trying to keep those conventioneers, not just the delegates, but those conventioneers engaged?
Well, I think two things. One will be communication and having a communication system that reaches out to them. And then the other thing is having meetings and events and just committee work that they can become involved in. And so that they're not just contacted again 2 years from now when we want them to come support us to be on the executive committee, but really working towards our elections and all of the fine things that we're going to do.
Well, that's one of the things I think I heard from young Democrats, particularly in my House district and in 88. They were like, well, we want to hear from you. The only time we hear from the party is when there's a convention or a caucus. And so I was fortunate enough to be elected to become a member of the executive committee. And so my commitment to them, along with Gavin Mosley, who is also a committeeman coming out of 88, is to make sure that we communicate and bring them into the process.
Yes, I think that's very important.
So in terms of some of the things that you want to do, you want to make sure that we are on sound financial footing.
Yes.
You want to make sure that we're communicated to effectively and continuously, I guess.
Yes.
And in terms of fundraising, I know that you've shared with me a lot of people are reaching out to you because they want to help.
They do want to help, and I find that very encouraging. I think it shows that we're at a turning point for the party. And so we plan to have a strong finance council. We're going to have many fundraising events. I think everything we do is going to be a fundraising event of one kind or another, and at all levels. And then we have several people who have offered to raise money for the party. So we're going to take advantage of that and really bring some folks in that are very hopeful about where we're going.
Let me just say that as someone who's been involved in party politics for a long time, we've only had 3 female chairs out of the history of the party. Do you think that, and I've asked Gail this before, I've not had an opportunity, Gail Jones Carson, that is, viewers, I've not had an opportunity to ask Catherine Bowers this, but do you think that the pressure, it's a little bit more pressure for you being a female over this rowdy group of Democrats, or do you think that it's not really going to be that big of a deal?
Well, I hope it's not going to be that big of a deal. I've been working with many people, many Democrats, for the last several decades. So I'm very used to being a woman and working within the political framework. So I think one advantage that, we have a lot of women in the party, and women tend to really be the grassroots organizers and really contribute a lot to the party. And I think, that's how I started getting experience. So I think it's valuable, and, I don't think it's going to be a big issue.
What about the factions? We often hear that, back in the day it was the Ford faction, and still a little remnant of that, a little bit. Now there's a Cohen faction, and then there's a Chisholm faction still. Do you think that under your leadership you'll be able to kind of mend that? Is that something you feel like you need to work on?
Well, I think we definitely need to work on unification, and I think we all have a common goal, and that is to have successful elections that elect Democrats. And so I think if we concentrate on our common goals, then we're going to be able to move forward. So
I was so happy to hear in your speech to the executive committee, you talk about, Democrats not fighting each other, but using it as a foundation to, go after and target Republicans.
Right.
Do you think that that's held us back from some of our elections, winning some of our elections, that we fight so much internally, that we're so busy fighting each other through these primaries, when Republicans have been very disciplined, Randa?
Yes.
In terms of getting in a room and determining who's going to be the Republican nominee, but Democrats have often fought it out in, hotly contested primaries. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think, Democrats operate differently than Republicans.
Thank goodness for that.
One reason I'm a Democrat. But I think we do tend to do things kind of publicly, and Republicans take care of it before they get in front of people. They've got it all wrapped up when they get there, and they have a nice package to deliver. We can learn some things from that, but I also don't have a problem sometimes with the way we do it. I think it is counterproductive for us to have infighting and to work against each other and to lose sight of our very important goals. And so that's what I hope to do, is to keep reminding people where we're going and what it needs what we need to get there. And so I'm hoping that that will help us unify things. And I tend to communicate with every faction. I always have. I've never been part of just one faction. And so I think that gives me an advantage as well.
I think it does too. I think, you've worked in various campaigns, and obviously based on the numbers you were able to receive in terms of winning this election, I mean, you were in a hard-fought, race with long-term Democrat Dale Gill, who's been a part of the Democratic Party establishment for years. Worked Judge Joe Brown's campaign, I think it was, as a part of their leadership team, and then served in various capacities with the Shelby County Democratic Party. Then Jackie Jackson, who is relatively new to the political scene, but has served on the executive committee, run for office, an executive with FedEx, and then, of course, a sitting county commissioner, Reginald Milton, who, is the president and founder of a nonprofit, but has run for office several times before. So being able to, I think you have what it takes, quite frankly, to build that coalition to make sure that we move Democrats forward, and excited about it.
Yes, I'm excited about it too.
In terms of, this year is almost, we're into it now. And so next year's going to be a big year for Democrats.
Yes, it is.
We don't know who our nominee's going to be.
No.
But we do believe that we're going to have a hard-fought, potentially primary for president.
Yes.
And so, are you excited about that and about to get Democrats locally ready for that?
I'm very excited about that. One thing about the presidential campaigns is they bring a lot of people out every 4 years, and so there's a lot of participation, and that's going to be exciting.
I know, excited about it. Okay, and so, we've been a part of campaigns. Let's just take mine, for example, where our numbers weren't all that great.
Right.
But we didn't have a whole lot of money. I think what we did with what we had was exceptional, quite frankly. How are we going to, as a part of this, your leadership, educate Democrats on how good or quality candidates that they have and try and get them to stay home? Because I think what they do is on presidential elections, they'll vote for the Democratic president,
right,
the nominee. How are we going to educate them, Randa, in your opinion, on trying to get them to stay home locally?
One of the things about the presidential campaign is there is so much lead up to that election. There's a lot of education of the voters. There's a lot of complaints about how the voters are educated, but nevertheless, people are aware and they see differences between the two candidates. I think sometimes locally we run up to the election and then all of a sudden we have our candidates, people don't know enough about them. And we need to start further back, further ahead, developing our candidates, letting our candidates be known, having our elected officials go out in the community, and just communicating with the voters so that by the time the election comes, they're with us and they're wanting to go out and vote for us. So there's never going to be as great a participation, I don't think, as there is in a presidential election year, but we have many long strides that we can take to doing a whole lot better in Shelby County.
And I do think education is the key. I think that you have a number of groups. I know the Links organizations that are going into the high schools now, trying to educate 17 and 18-year-olds on the importance of voting. So once they get their voter registration card, we need for them to understand that it's important to be informed too.
Right.
And so as a part of the party, I'm glad to hear you say that education needs to be a big part of that.
Another reason it's important is sometimes we have very intimidating ballots. They're so long, there's so many races, it can be difficult to understand, and that can be overwhelming, I think, for voters. So communication, education is very important.
I know, we've often heard that some of our candidates are not the best candidates specifically in our countywide races, but my response to that, Madam Chair, is that some of those Republican candidates are not great candidates either.
That is so
But they
true.
get them elected.
They get them elected.
So what do we need to do?
I think just what I was talking about previously. And I think one of the things about starting early and developing candidates is you do wind up with quality candidates. And sometimes there are just misunderstandings about our candidates. They haven't had a chance to put their best face forward. So I think there's a lot of things that we can do to have a slate of candidates that we're going to feel really proud of and that people will embrace.
There's a young man here in Memphis. His name is Ken Taylor, native Memphian, but he's gone out and he's worked in national campaigns. He worked in President Obama's campaign. He is now going to work on the Wharton for Mayor campaign, but he has gone across this country and he has does workshops and he educates people on the voting process, specifically candidates and grassroots organizers. I'm going to give you his information because he may be someone that you might want to talk to when you start organizing.
That would be great.
That would be great. Well, Madam Chair, I don't want to hold you too long, but I did want you to come in and just kind of share with our viewers your excitement about being chair as well as your vision for the Shelby County Democratic Party.
Well, thank you very much. I am very excited, and we have a great new committee, and I think we're going to do wonderful things.
And it's smaller, a lot smaller
It is
than,
smaller.
because the last committee was 70 plus, maybe?
Yes.
About 70 plus. And how many people are you working with this time?
29.
So to that point, do you need additional Democrats to come and be a part of maybe some of the standing committees?
Oh, definitely.
Okay.
Definitely, we do.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, Madam Chair, thank you so much for your time. And you know you always have a chair on Dialogue with Deidre, so you can come back anytime when you have information that you want to share with our viewers.
Thank you so much.
All right. That is, you just heard from the chairwoman of the Shelby County Democratic Party. We're so excited to have Randa Spears in our studios, and she is welcome back anytime. You're watching Dialogue with Deidre. When we come back, we're going to talk about Insure Tennessee, Jack Salmons, and a number of other things. Again, attorney Michelle Alexander Best is sponsoring this show, so you want to give her a call at 901-734-8621. You're watching Dialogue with Deidre. We'll be back in a moment.
Maybe he's really focused.
Hey, Michael. Michael. Maybe he likes spinning the wheels.
Maybe he just loves trucks.
Maybe he's just being a boy.
Preoccupation with objects is one early sign of autism. Learn the others today. The sooner it's diagnosed, the better.
I'm Dominique Dawes. How do you start your day? I always start with a healthy breakfast. Whether you're practicing for a game or studying for a test, eating breakfast every day can improve your concentration and help you perform your best. Kids who eat a healthy breakfast have more energy to work hard and play hard. That's why you should check out your school's breakfast programs. It's for everyone, so make sure you energize your day. Eat school breakfast.
be able to go to church and tell pastor or stand up and tell everybody, my baby's going to college, my baby got a scholarship. It's the next best thing to dying and going to heaven.
Is a major thing in my family. If you don't finish college, then they don't know you. They do not know you. It would be a very big disappointment.
Okay, so you go to college and you're supposed to be an educated person. Well, first the question is, what does it mean to be an educated person?
The purpose of education is to enlighten a young mind and put them on the path for success.
The function of education is to teach you to handle power. But how can you have power if you don't even have the ability to sustain yourself? We find that the tuition that's being paid is really treated as hush money, because many inside of higher education know that it is not the value that is passed off as being.
I don't feel confident. I'm scared. I'm being truthful. I'm scared out my wits come in if I don't have a job by then.
Like I said, I think Salem is the biggest legal pimp in America.
Information is power. Education is not power.
People that can get out of that line have tangible, sellable skills in other areas. People who don't have those skills have to stay in the line and hope and pray that they get one of the 10 jobs that they probably won't get. Martin Luther King said it best, there comes a point where silence is betrayal. We've come to that point. When college students are graduating in a recession with hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt and cannot secure employment and are getting $10 an hour jobs, silence is betrayal. What are we being taught in the name of education? We're being taught to do certain things that prepare us for certain jobs, but we're not taught to live free in the realm of our own possibilities.
So they say it's a man's world? I don't see anybody's name on it.
While they were doing their thing, we slowly changed ours.
Today, women can do anything men can do. And there's one thing we're even better at.
Wow, Teller Brown is your drugstore, and your drugstore. Hey, we everyone's drugstore. And we're located at 3333 East Shelby Drive, 794-3690. All medical plans. We support supported living, assisted living. We do it all. And guess what? We even have a $4 plan. Hey, call and ask Dr. Brown about that. I gotta go because she's coming with those boots.
The Carter Malone Group is a full-service public relations agency. Celebrating 10 years of being in business, the Carter Malone Group is located in Midtown Memphis and represents clients across the country. No matter what size your business, if you are interested in promoting your product or service and increasing your market share, contact the firm that can help you meet your goals. The Carter Malone Group. Call 901-278-0881 today.
Dialogue with Deidre. I'm your host, Deidre Malone. If you were watching earlier, we had the chair of the Shelby County Democratic Party on, Madam Chair Randa Spears. It was a great dialogue in the first half hour of our show. I want you to know that this show, Dialogue with Deidre, this edition is sponsored by Attorney Michelle Best, the law office of Attorney Michelle Alexander Best. You can reach Attorney Alexander Best at 901-734-8621, 901-734-8621. She's one of the great attorneys here in the city of Memphis and is a former judge, so she knows what she's talking about. In this half hour, a couple of things I wanted to talk to you about. I think I've shared with you that I am the new president of the Tennessee Women's Political Caucus, and you're going to be hearing more about what we're trying to do across the state. So excited that we are in the midst of rebuilding our affiliation, reconnecting with the National Women's Political Caucus based in Washington, D.C. And what does the National Women's Political Caucus and the Tennessee Women's Political Caucus do? Well, what we're responsible for doing is empowering women, educating them on how you can run for office, how you can get engaged in learning more about public policy and being about the change that you want in your community. And so if you are interested in joining the Tennessee Women's Political Caucus, it's only $25, and what we're doing now is we're building our caucuses across the state of Tennessee. We are about to start our Memphis caucus, and in the next 7 to 14 days, we will convene the current members and let them review the charter, make additions to the charter, adopt that charter, and then elect their officers for the Memphis Women's Political Caucus. Excited about that. On August the 18th, we are having our second board meeting of the year in Knoxville, and we are meeting with women and men who are interested in joining the Tennessee Women's Political Caucus and working with them to set up the Knoxville Women's Political Caucus. And we'll be doing that in Chattanooga and in Nashville. And we're also interested in setting up caucuses on college campuses, because what we're realizing is if you look across the state of Tennessee, a couple of things are happening. Let's just talk about Memphis, for example. There are only 2 women on the Memphis City Council, Janice Fullylove, Councilwoman Fullylove, and Councilwoman Wanda Halbert. 2 women on the body of 13. And when you look at who's voting here in Memphis and Shelby County, clearly, women are voting more than men. When you think about the county commission, I spoke to Commissioner Heidi Schaefer yesterday, and Heidi Schaefer, Commissioner Schaefer, is a very influential county commissioner. She actually chairs the budget committee. And Heidi is joining, Commissioner Schaefer is joining the Tennessee Women's Political Caucus, which she will be a member of the Memphis Women's Political Caucus. So excited to have Commissioner Schaefer back on board with the caucus. But she's the only female on the Shelby County Commission. One female on the Shelby County Commission. Let's talk about the state legislature. We are excited that we have over on the House side the Speaker, Beth Harwell, who is a strong leader, Republican leader, but a strong leader in the state legislature. And there are very few women who are in the House. And I know that there are very few, I want to say maybe 2 or 3 females over in the Senate. Senator Sarah Kyle, who's also a member of the Tennessee Women's Political Caucus as well as the Memphis Women's Political Caucus. So, you know, we have to do a better job of showcasing and allowing women to see themselves in roles of public policy and roles of public service when it comes to being elected to office and having a voice. I'll never forget a good friend of mine who's a big-time public servant but has played behind the scenes a great deal in terms of advancing candidates, not just on a local level in St. Louis, Missouri, but on a national level when former Speaker of the House Dick Gephardt was in office. Joyce Abusi, native St. Louis native, and someone who was responsible for raising money for Representative Dick Gephardt. Joyce Abusi said women have to have a place at the table, and when they're there, they need to have a voice. There's nothing wrong with sitting at the table, but when you're there and you're giving the authority to have input, weigh in, it is your responsibility, because you need to understand that men are going to do it. It's innate, it's their nature. They always have an opinion, and they let their opinion be heard. Women, sometimes we can be very tentative and very, very reserved and not let people know what we're thinking or what our opinion is. And, you know, once you have that space at the table, it is imperative. It is your responsibility to let people know what you're thinking and to share your voice. So we welcome and invite women and even progressive men. Again, this is a bipartisan organization. Democrats, Republicans, independents. We are looking to make sure that the state of Tennessee is a strong, strong voice when it comes to advocating for issues that are important to women and are important to families, specifically when it comes to equity in pay. Well, we can talk all day long about economic parity and how important that is, and how women still today are paid at some point 70 cents less than men. Let me say that. I think it's 70 cents less than men. It may even be more than that. And so there's something to be said about organizations like the National Women's Political Caucus and the Tennessee Women's Political Caucus that will go and fight for equity in pay, parity in pay. Another thing that the Tennessee Women's Political Caucus, and I think this is a good segue, has fought for, and that is Governor Haslam's Insure Tennessee proposal. I think that, you know, our viewers, you've heard this and you've read about it, know that the governor advanced his version of a Medicaid expansion plan to the state legislature early on. Actually had a special session where he went in and he presented the plan, and of course it did not even make it out of the Senate committee in that special session. So one of our great state legislators from West Tennessee, specifically from my House district, he's my House of Representative, and that's Representative Larry Miller. Larry in the House advanced that same proposal because he could in regular session because when the governor did it, it was in a special session. So we just found out yesterday that it did not make it out of the Senate committee again. I think it was a vote of like 2-6. And so shame on you, senators, that did not vote for Insure Tennessee. You had people in Nashville lobbying for Insure Tennessee and asking that our representatives advance it, and people were crying because over 220,000 Tennesseans are in need of this type of health care plan. And we're not talking about, we're talking about people who are working, who just cannot afford the traditional health care coverage, and now they won't have access. And what will this do? This will also make sure that some of our rural hospitals close down. It is so unfortunate that we couldn't get this out of the Senate and into the House. So shame on you, state legislators, specifically the state senators that did not vote for this. And I'm hoping that your constituents in your district will remind you that you didn't do the right thing for Tennessee by not voting for it. So those are the types of issues that the Tennessee Women's Political Caucus will advocate for, and we will always stand up for women, and we will always stand up for families, and we will always stand up and try and make sure that there is parity when it comes to, and equality when it comes to women getting paid for what they are worth in terms of what they earn. So let's transition real quick to talk about what's going on in City Hall down there in Memphis. It looks like more and more people are stepping up and saying that they want to run for city mayor. I'm not sure if my viewers know this, and I am an A.C. Wharton supporter, and I am actually, the mayor asked me to, and I've committed to officially running and managing his campaign. Initially, he asked me to work with him to get the infrastructure in place, and so I've worked with him to do that, and now he's asked me to take on the task of managing his campaign, and I'm excited about it. Let me tell you why, for a number of reasons. I think that the mayor has had to make some tough decisions when it came to the pension, when it came to the health care benefits, and no matter who the mayor was or is, they would have had to make those same decisions. Now, he's the chief executive of the city of Memphis, but there's a legislative body. So while, there are a lot of people who are upset with the mayor about advancing these proposals, the legislative body voted on it. Maybe they had some tweaks to the program, or maybe not. But at the end of the day, it was a joint decision moving forward with trying to shore up that pension, trying to shore up the health care benefits that, it did affect a number of people, and that is just so unfortunate. And I know that the administration tried to work with the retirees to make sure that they were taken care of, and partnered with Methodist Healthcare and Cigna to try and open a clinic, a free clinic for retirees to go to when they have health care challenges. And so, this mayor's had to make some tough decisions, and a lot of people are upset with him about it. But I think as a part of his campaign, what you'll see is he'll try and I know he'll do a good job of it, explain to the masses why he's had to make those decisions and what he'd like to do if given the opportunity to be the mayor for the next 4 years. So just wanted you to hear it from me. If you didn't know, because early on it was not my intention to manage the mayor's reelection campaign. I'd done that 4 years ago. I was building an infrastructure, but the mayor asked me to take it on, and when the mayor asks, you just say yes, and that's what I've done. So, Jack Salmons. I think there were 3 articles in the newspaper today, Eddie. 3 articles. One about Jack Sammons, who I've known for a long time. Jack was former city council member, and we're going to get him on Dialogue with Deidre at some point in the next month or so. And then Jack and I, my firm, the Carter Malone Group, did some work for AmPro. And then what's really interesting about our relationship is that we actually our businesses were housed in the same building, 65 Union, the Cotton Exchange building, and we were actually on the same floor. So AmPro Industries was on one side of the suite of the floor, and then the Carter Malone Group was on the other side. So I know Jack Sammons really well. Smart, very intuitive, understands government because he served on the city council for a while. He ran for county mayor. A lot of people may not remember this. And I think interim county mayor Joe Ford was the one to appoint him to the airport authority, where he is the current chairman of the airport authority, and he has done an outstanding job of trying to recruit the airline industry into the Memphis International Airport in light of the fact that Delta Airlines moved their hub. And so based on everything that I'm hearing, Mayor Wharton is saying that Jack will still have a major role in recruiting airlines to the city of Memphis and the county of Shelby as a part of his responsibilities as the chief administrative officer for the city of Memphis. So I personally don't think that he's going to have any problems with getting the appointment passed through the city council. I know some will probably ask the tough questions, but I think that he has relationships with a number of those elected officials. They know him. They know he's a hard worker. And anybody that knows the mayor realizes that Mayor Wharton wants to get the job done, and he's a gentleman. And every gentleman needs some type of hammer in their administration. And George Little, nice guy, very smart, and very just a smart man, but probably didn't have the kind of hammer kind of personality that Jack has. So people say that this is political, and I say it's not a political appointment. I say that it is a needed appointment in order to make some changes going into the next 6 months that are needed. So that's my opinion, and I'm sure you have one. And if you want me to know what your opinion is of what I've just said, just go ahead and post it on the Dialogue with Deidre Facebook page, and I promise you that I will respond. In terms of any other issues that are out there that you may be interested in learning more about, please just let us know. We can create a show around it. We don't have a problem with that. I think that you have seen from the shows that we've had here on Dialogue with Deidre, it varies. We've had the mayor of Selma, Alabama on the show. We've had the mayor of Memphis. We've invited the mayor of Shelby County to the show. He's not been on yet, but I think Don's working on that. We will get him on. I think that would be a good show. We've had the police director on the show, but we've also had bikers on the show. Don Juan and Show Nuff and Preacher and Tom Hoss Lewis were on the show as they were getting ready for the upcoming Memphis Bike Fest 2015. So we look at tough issues talked about in Sure Tennessee and some other tough issues. We will tackle issues that are important to this community on Dialogue with Deidre. We want to make sure that when you watch our show, that you get something from it, something important that you can go on and you can tell your neighbor, you can tell your family and friends that, you know what, I was watching Dialogue with Deidre and this is what Deidre said, or this is what her guest said about what's going on here in Memphis. National Civil Rights Museum, you know that coming up this weekend on April the 4th, there will be a lot of activities here in Memphis. I think you all know that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated here at the Lorraine Hotel on April the 4th, which is a day that we will be remembering Dr. Martin Luther King and the great things that he offered our country, and he gave his life for us to have the right to sit in whatever restaurant we want to, go to whatever hotel we want to, live in whatever neighborhood we want to. So there will be a number of activities commemorating the life and the death of Dr. Martin Luther King right here in Memphis. The National Civil Rights Museum, the April 4th Foundation. I was speaking to Reverend Dr. Johnson Salisbury on yesterday, and his event for April 4th, the tickets are already sold out, so you won't have an opportunity to participate in his event. But also, I was talking to a number of ministers from the Church of God in Christ, and I believe the morning of April 4th that they will have a march from the historic Mason Temple to the National Civil Rights Museum and participate in a program that the Civil Rights Museum has every year. And Mason Temple, I know that most of you know, is where Dr. Martin Luther King gave his historic speech about not being able to get to the mountaintop with you. And so that speech was given at the Mason Temple, which is kind of like the holy ground for the Church of God in Christ denomination. So the night before Dr. King was assassinated, that's where he gave that speech. And so Kojic ministers are going to meet there and march down to the National Civil Rights Museum to participate in those activities. So we want to hear from you. If you like what you are hearing and seeing on the Dialogue with Deidre show, we want to hear from you. Also, if you are interested in advertising, we can't say this enough. You can call my office, 901-278-0881, 901-278-0881, and ask for Regina. Regina can help you with advertising on the M1 network. We are about to launch a number of new shows here on this network, and if you want to be a part of letting not just Memphis and Shelby County know what's going on, because we're online, anybody in the world can watch our programming, and it is 24/7. 24/7. So we're excited about what's ahead for this M Network, and if you want to be a part of it by advertising, give us a call at 901-278-0881 and ask for Regina Jones. She can send you our media kit and work with you on advertising on the M Network. I want to thank you for watching the Dialogue with Deidre show. It has meant the world to me to be able to come on every Monday and every Wednesday to just share with you what's going on in our community and what I think is important to advancing our community. Thank you so much for watching, and just keep us on your mind. Watch our show. Let us know what you think, because we can only get better if we know what you're thinking, because you're watching us. Again, thanks for watching. I'm Deidre Malone, the host of this show, and we'll see you next Monday right here on the M Network. Have a great day.